Hello good people and welcome back to Level Up Your Tactics. Now, have a look at this position. Imagine that you're playing as white, as the legendary Russian Grandmaster Yuri Averbakh, and your opponent just played bishop to d4. That's a blunder, a massive blunder, and it ends the game in tactical fashion, which you'll need to see as a pattern recognition. And in this game, we'll talk about the tactical concept of attraction, the fork, and pin all in one package. Hope you haven't solved it yet. Let's boost that ELO. Let's get it.
Round 1. Fight!
This game took place in London, England in 1954. Yuri Averbakh, the legendary Yuri Averbakh, plays as white against Jonathan Penrose. Oh, before I forget, please, if you enjoyed this content, find it tolerable, and you're getting some value out of it, please leave a like and sub. You have my gratitude. Right, so I want to show you how the game progressed and how we got to that position. d4, d5, c4. The opponent, this is the Queen's Gambit offering. c6, I think this is, we're now transitioned to the Slav. Knight to f3, knight to f6, knight to c3, d takes. And you have to restrict that pawn, of course. Bishop to f5, and you have e3. Threatening to take, also developing. e6, bishop takes on c4, bishop to b4, and simply castles. Develop, develop, castle king, and now queen to e2. Idea of course, second rank. Also, trying to push the middle there, you need some central tension. You want to occupy the center, and maybe a rook here to d1. Knight b to d7, e4. Bishop to g5, bishop to d3. And it's in your best interest as a player not to haphazardly push, because you lose the value of potentials and central tension. Here opens up the light squares, although you're advancing. You want to push and make a break when it's the correct time. Bishop to d3, and now c5. Of course, these two pawns get attacked because they're dangerous. They're pawn phalanx. Here, now e4. Takes, takes. It's a wild one. Captures here. Takes, and now bishop to g6. Giving up the bishop pair, of course. But now there's active play for white's rooks. H takes on g6, takes again. And there's a different story now, even though the dark squared bishop is here, because this dark squared diagonal is kind of not protected. Rook to d1 with the attempt to pin. There's a threat here. Queen to e7, takes. B takes on c3, and it's nuances like this where you're kind of looking at it at first glance, that's just a free pawn, but it is not just a free pawn, because there's something called counterplay. The queen and the rook are in dark diagonals, so after, say, bishop takes, you have this tempo gaining bishop to a3. Slice, and now you're still attacking that rook. You're attacking b7. You have this open file. You're way delayed in development. And if you actually turn on the engine, white is up 3.7 in terms of evaluation. So after rook takes, or rook moves to g8, you simply attack both pieces, and this is gone. So these are high-level players. He did not take. He didn't allow this to be opened up. c4. Idea, of course, is the bishop is not here, so we'll take it over. Bishop to b2, f6, queen to e4, centralizing the queen, and potentially doubling up here. Rook f to e8, and now h4. Look at that. Look at this potentiality, and the luft on h4 allows that. e5. Just harassing. Trying to wreck the light square diagonal. Knight to f8, And now knight to h4. Multiple threats, of course, multiple threats. You can't just push here. After takes, rook takes, now f5. I mentioned you can't just push there, which looks like white has to relinquish a piece because the queen needs to move, but he just shuffles. Of course, that's not a Botez gambit. There is a pin. He didn't drop his queen. So now queen to f6, kind of highlighting the fact that, hey, you might want to move your queen or don't move it so I can win the game. And here, queen to g3. With a knight, with a potential pin, and a rook that's not fully challenged yet on the open file. And here we arrive at the beginning of the video, bishop to d4. How do you solve this problem? Or actually, how do you win the game? Because that's actually a massive blunder. And we'll look at the position in the fashion that there is a potential pin. There is, in fact, a direct pin on g6. And because of that, the game is over. What is the winning move? The answer in 3, 2, and 1. White sacrifices the rook. And black saw the combination, so he tried to put out the fire, but the fire was just not surmountable. It was not salvageable, so he played f4. And guess what? There is still a pin. So Mr. Averbach, Grandmaster Averbach, just played rook 2, f4, and the opponent resigned because of if takes, takes, you're up a whole queen. But going back here, after the brilliant rook takes on d4, what if we took? Why is that game over? In every sense of the word there. Because of the concept of attraction, pin, and a fork. The answer in 3, 2, and 1. White can play bishop takes on d4. So if you take, there is a pin here. And there is an L-shaped fashion with which you can win the game, and that's knight to f5. You cannot take. King moves to f7, and that's goodbye queen. An old game, but the concepts are classic. And it's amazing that he found it. Of course, he's a grandmaster. Quick recap. d4, d5, c4, c6, the Slav, knight f3, knight to f6, knight to c3. D takes, a4, queen to e3, bishop takes, bishop to b4, castle, king, queen 2, push in the center, applies more pressure, attacks one of the pawns in the central squares, and now e5. Takes, 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 bishop takes. King is here. The bishop is not in front of the king or near the vicinity to protect the dark diagonal. So, king takes, rook to d1. And now, a sacrifice. The idea of a decoy there to get a better counterplay is very appealing for white, and that's actually game over in the sense where you lose a piece. So that's not what happened. B takes on c3, moves out, and now clears the way, c4, with the bishop idea. Check. Centralizing the queen, trying to weaken the squares on the king's side, but also using g5 as an anchor. Now pushes. Now threatens again here. Takes, push. Using the pin. Notice how the bishop is in an active square, but it's not a relevant square. Here, and blunders. The one time you probably should not use the bishop to defend a diagonal that's challenged. Sacrificing the rook. Game over. Hope you guys got something out of that. I know I did. I'll see you guys later. Double peace.